All right, we are recording. Welcome to Outright TV. This is a podcast and audio cast, I guess, series that Outright started a few months ago to share the stories of LGBTIQ people and allies. My name is Daina. I'm the Senior Communications Manager at Outright. And today I'm talking to one of my best friends in the world, Kaspars Zālītis in Riga in Latvia. Welcome, Kaspars.
Hey, Daina.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm quite good. It's like the last summer days over here in Latvia, so we're trying to enjoy it as much as we can, obviously.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me for this conversation for Outright TV.
Thank you for inviting.
I'm going to give you 45 seconds, no more, no less, to introduce yourself. But hold on, I need to start my timer. Okay,
all right,
the 45 seconds start now.
I can't. But yeah, so thanks God you gave me a question before that. It's like, so I consider myself as a human rights advocate, and yeah, I'm currently based in Latvia, so I have no idea where I'm going to be in a year. My passion is working towards the LGBT equality in Latvia and Europe mostly, and currently I'm busy with a partnership law in Latvia, or we call it the Life Spouses Bill. I work with the businesses, with the diversity, trying to combat in some ways hate crime and hate speech. And yes, and preparing for the Baltic Pride next year. So that's going to take place in Riga.
That was 45 seconds exactly. It's almost like you.
Oh my God! That's the shortest introduction about myself ever.
Well, you rose to the challenge. I would only add to what you said, I would add that you are a pioneering activist in Latvia. You're probably the best known gay in the village of Latvia, maybe, perhaps, one of.
After Carlos Stripes, who was the first
He
gay
was the
in the
first.
village.
This is a journalist, and a Latvian-American journalist who actually likes to say that he was the first gay in the village twice, because he grew up in an expat Latvian community in the States and then came to Latvia. Anyway, but behind Carlos Stripes, perhaps it's you. So you're a pioneering activist. Under your watch, Riga hosted Europride in 2015, which was attended by, what was it, 8,000 people? It was a lot of people.
5,000.
Oh, 8,000 was afterwards, right? It was the next time that Riga hosted Pride. So under your watch, Pride in Riga has absolutely exploded, achieving humongous numbers for a tiny little country. You've also formed partnerships with businesses and politicians and political parties that have been publicly acknowledged by them, which is also a huge achievement for Latvia. You founded the Diversity Charter, and last year, in an interview with one of our cultural publications in Latvia, Satori, the interviewer said that you made Pride and fighting for LGBTIQ equality cool, which I agree with. Is there something that stands out to you in the over a decade of activism that you've been part of? Is there something, an achievement that stands out to you that really served as a catalyst for change, that made fighting for LGBTIQ equality cool?
I think that was a Pride. It's like the Pride was the big change, and it's like it's not just my achievement. It's like, I know it's like you like to say I'm pioneering, but Pride especially is something that I'm doing together with Christine. She's like the chair of the European Pride Organizers Association. So yeah, we organized Pride together since 2012, and it's like it's funny how. Every single time when you're saying is like 5,000, 8,000, we literally know every single year how long was the march and how many people were there. So it's like starting with 250 meters, 650 meters, and now 2.2 kilometers, and then 750 people. So, but I think the Pride was the biggest catalyst, and it's like, and the Europride was something that nobody believed that we could ever bring to Latvia, and yes, we did it. And since then, people saw, like, they were afraid from the violence that was. Now this year, actually, the most violent Pride this year was 15 years ago, literally the first Pride, and people understood that there's no need to fear anymore. So, and we can be more open. We can speak about this. Politicians are speaking about this. and suddenly nobody can ignore us. So it's like this year as well. It's like we have municipality elections in what, a couple of weeks, and one of the questions asked by the public broadcaster is what is the opinion of each political party about the Pride? It's like either you support the Pride, you consider that the Pride should be as big as in Stockholm or in Madrid, or you obviously condemn the Pride. So one part of them is clearly condemning the Pride and doesn't want it to happen. But I like, let's give them hope, but it's never going to happen again.
Well,
so
and
Pride is going to keep on going.
They're no longer the majority, right? And I think, just to draw attention to some of the things you said, the first ever Pride March in Riga happened in 2005, so 15 years ago, right? So Europride took place only 10 years later. And within the span of those 10 years, we went from a tiny march, which was, 100 or so people in the first one, met 70. By, was it 70? Okay.
70s.
Clearly my memory is murky. So 70 people met by, now you can say the number because I don't want to get any more numbers. There we go. Thousands of protesters, very violently minded protesters. Then the year after that, Pride was banned. So, and then within 10 years, there were 5,000 people and no violence and very few protesters who were absolutely outnumbered, to 8,000, 3 years later in 2018. So it's absolutely incredible what you've done. And of course you didn't do it alone, but I think you should also not underplay your own role in being a very visible and pioneering and fearless activist in many ways.
Thank you.
But of course, Pride is one thing, and activism being cool is one thing, but quite another thing is what's happening in a legislative sense. So in the last couple of weeks, you've shared 2 different pieces of news with me, one good, one bad. I don't know which one you want to start with. Do you want to start with, start with the one, what's happening in Latvia? Start with whichever one you feel like starting with.
Oh, well, I just wanted to add is like about the one thing that we have achieved and we can celebrate it, but in the same time, if we look at what happens in Poland at this moment, it's like we cannot take it for granted. It's like nobody believes that such an actions, like, for example, and this is like connected what just now happens in Latvia, and nobody could ever believe that in the middle of the European Union, one country would support, or the municipalities would call them openly with the signs LGBT Free Zones. It's and especially the country which has been like suffered so much from a Holocaust, and now they are putting the signs on. Okay, like if I'm not mistaken, today was the third judgment as well, that Polish court saying that these signs are unconstitutional, but the president of Poland is, let's say, I have no full proof that he fully supports this, but yes, he is. He's from the political party that openly supports this LGBT Free Zones, and this is worrying because we can think of the progress, but the same is like, look at the situation at the United States. It's like, we get a huge achievement, we celebrate, and then suddenly, in the moment when we expect the least, somebody's trying to take away our rights and try again to exclude the people from the society. So
the progress that takes years to achieve and to fight for can be lost like within a very short space of time, right? Poland is definitely an example of that.
And it's going to be like that for the next 5 years, most likely, because the election just happened, and the conservatives, conservatives won by just a little margin, but that's very much linked as well what happens now in Latvia. So we do have some political forces that's been around in Latvia for like since the independence, but the new generation is now stepping in. And obviously one of the politicians who is quite famous of his let's say, politically incorrect actions, to say it least mildly. So he obviously started from not, let's say, how to say it. He didn't condemn the actions of Breivik when he did the shooting in Oslo, and when he openly said in his Twitter account as well that this is a result of the multiculturalism, right? It's
so
like
this
when
is a loud and proud nationalist with all the worst connotations that come with that element of political leaning.
And unfortunately, he's the member of the Latvian parliament, and also this political party is also the member of a coalition. So we don't have the two big political party system, like for example in US, but it's like our coalition is consists, I think, of the 5 political parties or so, and yeah, so he is from a coalition party, and then in July, like in mid-July, he retweeted a piece of material or just a drawing, which is exact copy of the signs in Poland, which would say the LGBT Free Zones, but just translated in Latvian. So not just supporting the message of Poland, but sending clear message that in Latvia, and he retweeted this. So, and we've raised this issue with some of other politicians, and the politicians went over, and as we cannot as a civil society, so political party went over to the ethics committee to start the proceedings against the parliamentarian. Well, and what was it this week? The ethics committee decided that it is not against the ethic rules of Latvian parliament, and he's not punished in any of the ways, not even with the warning, or not even saying it's like the parliamentarian shouldn't be speaking like this and stuff. So this is what kind of saddens us, because our constitution states that everybody is equal, and then suddenly some parliamentarians can say that this is his opinion. So that is something we're worried about. We never believed that this kind of LGBT free zones might come over to here. I still have a true hope that no municipalities would ever dare to consider themselves as an LGBT free zones. And but yeah, so this is what we're raising this concern. It's like, as he is not listening to what we're saying, what the Latvian society is saying, we're now trying to make sure that the world is saying to Latvia, we're watching it. It's like, we know, we have heard what has happened, so you are on our radar again after many, many years. So
let's hope it doesn't come to let's hope it's the musings of a madman and doesn't lead to action. But of course, there is a sad history of countries in the former Soviet Union learning from each other and getting the worst kind of ideas from each other. So hopefully LGBT free zones don't become one of those pandemics that spread across our part of the world. I mean, the outlook in Poland looks really depressing at the moment, but I'm still hopeful that perhaps there is something that can be done. You also shared some kind of good news with me. I mean, the backdrop of that is that for many years, you mentioned this in your introduction, that you've been working on partnership legislation, and this is something that's been kind of in the air in Latvia for years with multiple failed attempts. So despite Pride being a big thing in Latvia and being quite popular and easy to organize these days, and with tons of people joining, the legislation does not reflect that. Like, in terms of legislative protections for LGBTIQ people, Latvia is pretty down there when it comes to within the EU. So what's happening now? Is there good news to do with partnership legislation now?
Yeah, so there are actually two things happening at the same time. So we've been, and there has been established a movement called Life Spouses, or this is how we call it, the partnership bill over here. And the movement consists of many organizations and activists, and these are prominent organizations like gender equality, the children's protection, prominent lawyers and stuff. So there is a great movement that is moving forward in order to develop an inclusive legislation for partnerships. And this is not just a partnership, same-sex partnerships, but that gives protection for all of the families that decide not to get married. And I do believe that this is the moment as well, that we cannot force people to get married, but as well in the same time as we live in the society where Latvian state has said that we're going to protect all of the families no matter what. We are not protecting the families that are not married or didn't had a chance to get married or are on the way. So the Life Spouses Bill is something that we are moving forward. And one good news is that after, as you said, it's like after many years of attempts, finally the question of the partnership bill and the life spouses are at the commissions at the parliament. So one commission has started already an official discussion about the need of a life spouses concept itself. So protection of couples, non-married couples, no matter either they're heterosexual or same-sex. So, but then there's another initiative which actually kind of went in the same time as ours. Was we have a civic initiative website where you can collect 10,000 signatures, official signatures, and then this initiative will go directly to the parliament. And so this initiative got 10,000 signatures in 48 days, which is quite a short time. So the previous initiative was talking about same-sex partnerships as well, took 3 years. So I see the shift is there, and now the other commission, actually the same commission that didn't condemn the parliamentarian, is going to review the same-sex partnership initiative, and hopefully it's going to move over to the social committee to continue the debate about the need of the Life Spouses Bill. It's like, as every country, the political system is a little bit strange, but I think, and not that I'm quite sure we are in the most furthest point that we ever been in the history of Latvia when it comes into the protection of non-married couples, including the same-sex couples.
That's amazing. So it's like the stars have aligned and there's multiple pressure points happening at the same time. Because the last time that this initiative failed was not that long ago, right?
That was 2000, what was that? 2015, yeah.
It's
no,
really...
2015 they started to... The last initiative failed last year, actually.
Last year, yeah.
Last year, yeah.
So it's amazing that already within a year, now there's 2 initiatives coming from 2 different angles, and there's no way that same committee, which refused to carry the initiative forward last time, can now say, oh, Latvia is not ready for this. Well, clearly it is, because the same initiative keeps coming back. That's really cool. That's really great to hear some good news finally.
But actually to say, it's like we do have a counter argument, because the politicians in Latvia are saying that we're not ready. It's like, and but I think they should start to use an argument that they are not ready, not the Latvian society, because we just done recently some polling about the social opinions towards the Life Spouses Bill. So that would mean is like understanding the concept of family is something broader than just a married couple. And by the way, for those who don't know, the Latvian constitution states that marriage is only between man and a woman. So no marriage equality until sometime in the future. But yeah, so that was... And in this polling, 59% of the Latvian population is saying that they are in favor of the Life Spouses Bill. So 59%, and that's kind of contradicts to the fact that Latvian society is not ready. And
That's crazy. They have to stop using that argument. It's completely ridiculous. Like, I think the first time I felt that was in 2015 when Europride had 5,000 people, right? Having been at the first marches, well, you and I both, not the one in 2005, but in 2006, in those first marches which were banned or where there were thousands of protesters, and then coming out and seeing all of these thousands of people and all of these supporters, and yet the politicians still saying, no, Latvia is not ready. Like, come on. Really can't keep using that, especially now. So it's a really stark contrast, right, between the level that the society is at, and then the legislation and the political will not reflecting that. Well, exactly. We're swiftly running out of time, but what's next? Like, after this, what else is on your horizon beyond the life spouses bill?
Yeah. So yeah, the one thing is the Baltic Pride. Baltic Pride is one thing that comes back to Riga. So
for those who don't know, can you do a quick history, like which year Riga, Tallinn, and Vilnius decided to do Pride together?
So in 2008, all three countries came together. Organizations from all of the three countries came together and decided that we need to make something big, because we're like small organizations in each country. So
small organizations in small countries.
Yeah. So, and then in 2009 there was the first Baltic Pride in Riga, and then 2010 it was not just the first Baltic Pride in Vilnius in Lithuania, but the first Pride ever in Lithuania. So, and then it just kept on moving, and yeah, so we are taking turns each year, and the next year is Riga. Fingers crossed that we will be able to march, taking into account the situation, what happens at the moment, because most of the Pride events have been cancelled or went online. But Latvians are innovative, so and we have already ideas. It's like if we need to do something, it's like we'll find a way how to march. And I think
Latvians like their social distance too, right? It's like, no, don't come in my bubble, person.
So that's one of the jokes that we had, is like as well over here, when we have that's 6 feet or 2 meters distance, and it's like, and then we said, it's like, oh my god, this social distancing is over, so now we can go back to 5 meters distance. so it's like we like to be far apart.
We like
from
our
each
space.
other.
We don't like the hugging and the kissing of the Southern Europeans.
Oh, forgot. No. It's like, well, we're still cold at heart a little bit. So, but once you melt it, it's like we're getting friendly. But yeah. So, but I think that's next, and I believe it's like the next Pride will be able to celebrate some victories for human rights in Latvia, and finally Latvia won't be one of the last places in the European Union. So.
Here's to that. Here's to that, and cheers to that.
It's like, yeah, cheers. I'm always here with my, dark drink, as you know, I'm always drinking. Yes, that's not alcohol.
Dark drink of some sort. Well, best of luck, Kaspars. I also hope to, that at some point I'll be able to come back to Latvia and celebrate with you in person.
We're definitely going to meet at the World Pride, no?
I hope so. That's the plan. I mean, let's see what happens with the COVID and travel bans and all that jazz. Obviously, let's hope that within a year it's better.
It is going to be better. It's like, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. I'm going to adopt your positive outlook and say I will definitely see you within the next year.
Well, the situation generally is like the whole world is watching what is happening in the US at the moment. It's like for us, like we're one of the lucky countries in the world. So in this,
Latvia did very well, for sure.
So, but still, so everyone is cautious, and we're trying to be innovative in all the ways, because we have to keep on our activism, and all of the activism cannot go online.
No, I mean, there's great creativity of activism online, but you're right. All of it cannot be online. We also need our FaceTime. All right. Thank you, Kaspars, for joining me today.
Thank you, Daina.
And to our wonderful viewers, thanks for tuning in again, and keep doing so. We will keep bringing you stories of wonderful LGBTIQ activists from around the world and allies as this Outright TV project continues. So till next time.